What's going on everyone, Mike here, and in this video we're analyzing the Asus X550, which is a mainstream 15-inch laptop designed to be affordable and still offer plenty for the money. Asus will have several different configurations available for this machine, so you will be able to choose the one that best fits your needs. Anyway, for starters, let's talk about the things that will remain the same on all the X550 versions. First off, the looks. The X550 is a pretty slick, sturdy and slender laptop, but is far from a premium looking product. In fact, the entire body is made from plastic, although a fairly good quality plastic. The area on the hood and on the inside, on the palm rest, is textured, while the belly is simpler, less impressive. Speaking about that, down here you can fairly easily access some of the internals by removing this dedicated cover in order to upgrade the memory and the storage. There's also a rather small cooling grill in the middle and a removable battery at the back. Around the sides, the X550 bundles most of the things you'll want in a modern notebook. On the left there's the PSU, a large cooling vent, VGA and HDMI video outputs, an Ethernet port, two USBs and a very conveniently placed headphone microphone jack. The card reader sits on the front lip, just beneath the set of status LEDs, while on the right there's an optical drive and another USB slot. Asus kept the right edge fairly clean and that should be appreciated. However, you might be bothered by the forward placed LAN port on the left. Anyway, let's lift the screen and have a look at the interior. The silver plastic used for most of this area looks and feels good enough. Of course, for this class. The body doesn't flex that much, the armrest is spacious and the edge is nicely rounded, so there's really nothing that actually could bother you when using this laptop. And then there's the screen. Nothing fancy here, just a regular 15.6-inch non-touch glossy display framed by a matte plastic bezel. You might have noticed that the two hinges are quite compact, but luckily they are more than sturdy enough to keep the screen firmly in place, no matter how you set it up. And that is extremely important, because the panel is rather mediocre and you'll always want to look at this display straight on if possible. Otherwise, the content is going to quickly wash out due to the poor viewing angles. Of course, the 1366 by 768 pixel resolution is not impressive either, and neither are the colors, contrast and brightness levels. However, let's not forget that the X550 is going to be a fairly cheap laptop, and in this segment you can't really find a lot better. But there's definitely a lot of room for improvement here. Bottom point, I for one do find the screen on the X550 quite poor, but it's mostly on par with what you're getting these days on affordable laptops. If you want something significantly better, you'll need to adjust your budget. The keyboard and trackpad are however quite good on these Asus. The keys are properly sized and spaced, the travel and feedback are alright, and I was able to type several thousands of words on the X550 without any important issues. Yes, the keys are plasticky and way noisier than I'm used to, as you can hear for yourselves here. But you can get used to these. The layout is of course not that great, as Asus keeps pushing the numpad area on their machines with narrow and cramped keys, and that has a negative effect on the navigational keys as well. The clickpad is fairly smooth and accurate in daily use, with only occasional jerkiness. It supports some gestures, including those embedded within Windows 8. However, clicking it produces an annoying sound. But as long as you'll mostly tap the surface, like I do, you should be just fine with it. Alright, those being said, it's now time to actually power on this laptop. It takes a while to boot from cold, and that's because we have an entry to mid-level configuration on our test unit. It bundles an older generation Intel Core i3 processor, a 1TB 5400 RPM hard drive, 8GB of RAM and dual graphics, with NVIDIA 720M as the dedicated chip. As a result, this laptop is not a beast, and it won't impress with its performances. But if you're interested in more details about the specs, the hardware and some benchmark results, you should definitely check out my written review. I'll add the link for you in the description below. Still, the tested Asus X550 managed to deal fine with most everyday tasks, from browsing to editing texts, listening to music, running videos and even playing games. That of course if you're patient enough for these to load and don't multitask between too many apps at once. The laptop does bundle an NVIDIA 720M graphics chip like I mentioned above, which is only an entry-level solution, but still allows the X550 to run fine titles like Dirt 3 or Crysis 2 on native resolution with low to medium details, and that's alright for such a machine. However, it's worth mentioning that this notebook can get quite comfortable to use when pushed. The inner body tends to get warm in the middle around the GH keys in these conditions, while the underbelly gets really hot, so hot that you can't actually use the laptop on your lap. This also causes the fan to spin fast and translates into noise, but nothing that the speakers cannot actually cover. Speakers that are placed under the keyboard facing towards the user and are punchy for this class. The sound quality is not impressive, but is still fairly good for a mainstream laptop.
Your encounter with a surfer has affected your molecules.
On the other hand, with average use, the X550 runs pretty cool and quiet, and that's how you're probably going to use it most of the time. Okay, I've mentioned before that this laptop comes with a removable battery. It's not a very large one, and it can push the laptop for about 3 hours of everyday use. That's not much, but not that bad either. The power brick is fairly portable, the battery is removable like I mentioned earlier, and the laptop recharges completely in under 2 hours. Alright, and that's about it for now. Conclusion time. The Asus X550 is primarily a cheap laptop. Asus did a fairly good job at making sure it's decently looking, packed with all the needed ports and features, and an overall alright trackpad and keyboard. Of course, it has its flaws. Among them, the poor screen and the fact that it gets hot under load are the ones that you should really care about. And while I understand the first, as you can't really get a lot better in this price range, the cooling system is problematic. Don't forget I've only tested the Core i3 version of the X550 here, and you can spec this laptop with Core i5 and Core i7 options as well. Those will surely get even hotter and could end up throttling or even shutting off the computer out of the blue due to high temperatures. Just to be clear though, I'm not saying that they will, I haven't got to test them yet, but based on my years of testing laptops, this is something you should look into if you're after the Asus X550. With that in mind, it's time to wrap this up. Before you go though, let me know what do you think about this laptop and whether or not do you find it something worth buying. Leave your comments below and of course your questions, if any, I'll be around to reply. Okay, I for one will catch you later, and in the meantime thank you for watching, and if you found this useful, go crazy with the like and share buttons. And don't forget to check out the written review as well, you'll find some extra details in there that were not included in the video.